Hey everybody, me and Buster Green here. Sorry it's been a minute again. I got horrifically sick again because the seasons changed and it got really hot outside. And somehow, even though it's been so hot outside, it's also been snowing every day, which is crazy. Anyway, the hottest issue we have to discuss today is that the new TMNT trailer just dropped, and there was a lot to go over with it. Now, I am a child of the 80s, so quite frankly, anything Ninja Turtles related, I'm going to force myself to go see it, even if I hate it, like I have hated certain recent entries in the franchise. And you know, it means a lot to me, so I'm going to watch it even if I hate it, just cuz. So, this trailer has divided the internet, and the best way I can put it is that, since I've been eating a lot of unhealthy internet lately, it's divided me too. Now, half of my friend base is like, oh, this looks awesome. And the other half is like, fuck Seth Rogen, he broke my childhood, this makes me want to die. And me personally, I'm probably right in the middle with various mixed feelings on this movie, various controversial parts of this movie making me like kind of want to go off. But at the same time, I actually have a lot of hope for this movie, and I think it could be really something amazing and cool and unique. So I'm going to lay down for the start. I really hope this movie is good. I don't want to sit through a bad Ninja Turtles movie again, because I've been doing that since I was a little kid and Ninja Turtles 3 came out. I also know that if the movie fails, they're just going to give it to someone else who will reboot it again in a completely different way, and that will give me even more reboot backlash when I'm already having whiplash from the reboot we just got. So, quite frankly, I think a lot of the results of this movie are whiplash from how the Michael Bay TMNT movies were received very badly, and this movie is kind of a complete 180 to try and turn away from that and go back to the original core of the Turtles. Now, Seth Rogen as a producer, he's complicated. Like, I hate him most of the time, but I gotta give him this. He's been hanging out of the park lately because, yeah, sure, Santa Inc. was pure garbage, but the same year he made fucking Invincible. Everyone loved that. He's been working on The Boys lately. That is probably one of the best shows on TV. Look, there's so many problems with Seth Rogen. I don't like the fact that he's a drug dealer. I don't like the fact that he sells drugs to pay for the movies he makes and offset like the cost of them. And the fact that he insists in starring of half these movies, like, ruins them because he's too old and ugly to, like, carry a tune. But anyway, I find myself more at odds with him lately because he keeps venturing down this path where he keeps rebooting shit I personally love because it's a core part of my childhood and a core part of my identity. And that's where this sits. The TMNT is just that close to my heart that I gotta, like, look at this. Now, before I even get into this trailer, on Friday they dropped a really interesting list of characters. So for this video, I'm just going to go over that list of characters because it's like who's in the film and who's playing them. And honestly, you can like figure out so much about this film from this cast list. So I'm just going to go over a few things that stick out to me right away, and then we're going to take away some like dealings with that. Now, first things first, what threw me for a loop and what I didn't understand going into this movie, the 4 turtles in this, for me, the first time ever, are being played by 4 actual teenagers from the Nickelodeon camp. Not 4 middle-aged men doing a parody of what they think teenagers sound like. It's 4 actual little kids. So that's an interesting take. I don't know if I'm fully sold on this, but Rogen has definitely been playing around with kids a lot lately. Like, he did that, like, Kids Being Bad movie that I never saw, but yeah, anyway, so now that being said, one thing that did shock me in the trailer was that the kid playing Donatello has clearly not gone through puberty yet, which is just shocking for me because I feel like a lot of the other turtles mostly sound like the old actors, but Donatello sounds like a straight up like kid you would like see at like the corner. Like, I don't know, it like shocked me because like I feel like a lot of people who hate on this franchise always give Donatello the worst shit just because like he's like the geeky purple guy. And I don't know, this is one of those like hot contention points online. Like, anyway, it shocked me at first, but now that I understand that the turtles are all being played on kids, a lot of my friends told me to like not get so upset about this one because, hey, give the kid a break, and hey, it worked for the kids in Avatar, and actually a lot of my friends said he sounds exactly like the kid who played Aang in Avatar. So I guess it seems to me like I'm the only one upset about this, but I think that's because I really like Donatello. So anyway, I guess I'm just gonna like back down on this one and like give this one a pass. Now, anyway, let's look at the rest of the cast. Surprisingly, there's a lot of mutants on this list. I'm just gonna browse through a bunch of them, like Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop is Seth Rogen, obviously, because he loves playing like big, stupid pig characters. He did Pumbaa, so I guess he's gonna do Bebop as Pumbaa. That's gonna be dumb, but okay, sure. And Rocksteady is John Cena. John Cena's been acting a lot lately. I'm okay with this. Rose Byrne is doing a weird gender flip Leatherhead, which also seems to be weird, but online, like, no one seems to care, so that's okay. Also, Natasha Demtro is doing a weird gender flip version of Wingnut, which was a really goofy character who was originally like a parody of Batman, but like gross. I'm surprised this character is in the film at all. I'm guessing he's like a supporting mini-boss or something like that. Next is Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko. I expect that to at least be cool because Paul Rudd has like a perfect track record. Then Hannibal Buress is playing Genghis Frog. So I don't know if all the punk frogs are going to be there or if it's just Genghis, but honestly Genghis was the coolest one, but if they're not all there, it's going to be really sad for them to break up the root. Anyway, did anyone like the Punk Frogs? They were always kind of like an in-universe knockoff TMNT that was there to like specifically show like it could have been worse or something. I don't know. I always thought they were cool enough, but actually, weren't they bad guys for like an episode? Anyway. Moving on, Post Malone. Okay. Post Malone is a huge joke of a celebrity, but they made a really interesting choice here in casting him as Ray Fillet. Now, that's a big question mark here. Now, here's the thing about Ray Fillet. Ray Fillet was never a cool character in the Ninja Turtles lore or even like the 80s show, but back in the 80s, he had one of the absolute coolest action figures because you could throw Ray Fillet in like a pool or a bathtub and he would float. Now, I think that's a really interesting choice that they picked this character because that shows to me that they're picking characters based on action figures. Like, that's the only reason you would ever pick Ray Fillet, because the action figure was really cool and the character sucked. So, that does give me hope for this movie, because maybe they're, like, doing some, like, really cool choices based on their own childhood, like, imaginations. Now, rounding out the random characters, Maya Rudolph is playing Cynthia Utrom. Now, this is probably going to be another stupid twist on the old Utrom plotline. By and large, I hate the Utroms because I love Krang so much, and I always feel like if they're doing the Utroms, they're either going to fuck up Krang or they're not going to do Krang. And I'm typically only okay with them doing the Utroms if they're doing them specifically to set up Krang, or if they're doing them to be like, we're the Utroms and we hate Krang, like, you know, as a counterpoint to Krang. Now, some people have done some really cool shit with the lore of the year, but I'm just expecting this to be Maya Rudolph doing a corny alien voice, and I gotta say, my expectations for that are super low, especially after the whole Eminem fiasco she just put the country through. Now, I gotta tell you guys, the number one thing on this casting list that has me excited for this entire movie is that Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in this movie playing Gus Fring as the final boss of this movie. Okay, so I'm kidding, but here's the thing. TMNT movies have, for the longest time, been willing to shy away from Shredder because the Shredder story has been told, the Shredder is limiting, and in the long run of the lore, he's not that deep of a character. And the Michael Bay movies, like, famously fucked that up by, like, just dropping some other dude into the movie, and he was going to be, like, Colonel Schrader, who turned into the Shredder, or some other nonsense. But test audiences, like, super hated it, so they hastily threw in, like, this random Japanese actor as the real Shredder. But this movie, they're making things really interesting by throwing down Gus Fring to fight the Ninja Turtles. Now, Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, probably the most interesting television villain of the entire decade. Especially for what he did in Breaking Bad, especially for what he continued to do in Better Call Saul. And Gus Fring is fucking terrifying. Like, honestly, I kind of think the concept for this movie is going to be TMNT versus Gus Fring, which is a phenomenally cool and original idea. Because Giancarlo Esposito does not take on small roles. He only takes on roles where he's going to be the main, most evil, most baddest bad guy It's like written into his contract. That's the only way they got him to appear on The Mandalorian. Like, he pretty much got to be Darth Vader without the mask, and he had to fight Luke Skywalker. Now, don't get me wrong, I prefer Goofy henchman Baxter Stockman. I even thought Tyler Perry as Goofy Baxter in the last Michael Bay movie was one of the high points of the film. But TMNT 2005 showed Baxter can be terrifying if he's done straight, and if he's Gus Fring on top of all that. Like, okay guys, let me fanfic for this on a second. Imagine if they just set up Gus Fring from Breaking Bad is also Baxter Stockman, and he's leading this double life where he sells meth in New Mexico. He works at his chicken restaurant to maintain like a day persona, but at the same time he also flies back and forth to New York and works for the Shredder. And he uses the money from his meth to build an army of killer robot masters to kill Master Splinter, to make the Shredder happy, and expand his meth empire. But one day it all goes wrong when the TMNT bust up his meth lab and shots are suddenly fired. Now honestly, again, this dude is single-handedly saving the movie for me sight unseen, because I have such huge expectations that he will do the coolest fucking shit in this movie, and I just want to watch this movie right now to see what he will do. Now, one last thing I have to address on the casting list. For some reason, Ice Cube is playing a new character called Superfly, which seems to just be a fly mutant. Now, as we all know, Baxter typically turns into a fly mutant, so I'm guessing if they're doing the super serious Gus Fring as the villain Baxter, he won't turn into the Fly. So I'm guessing they're going to try to have some kind of weird compromise and have Ice Cube turn into the Fly and work for Baxter. I don't know, that's a stupid, weird guess I have. But if they're doing that, that sounds kind of dumb. Another guess I have is maybe they could have Baxter mutate into Superfly, and when he mutates into Superfly, he's suddenly played by Ice Cube. Now that also sounds dumb, but I could totally see Giancarlo Esposito being like, I will help you with your film, but I will not do the fly part. Okay, anyway, so that's all that. Now before I finish this out, there are two major casting controversies in the film, and that's April O'Neil and Master Splinter, and those two characters have single-handedly set the internet on fire. I'm going to start with Splinter because I actually mostly like Splinter. Now, the thing I don't like about Splinter, in this movie, Splinter has a dumb haircut. He looks like he has like Jerry Curl, Prince in the 80s kind of hair. Now, I know every version of TMNT has to stand on its own, and I guess what they've gone for this version, like, if you ignore the stupid haircut, I think this version of Splinter looks exactly what I think and imagine Master Splinter should look like. Because the last couple of TMNT properties have completely fucked up Splinter. They made him like a short, Mel Brooks kind of comedian midget guy. Like, honestly, I think, especially in the face, this looks exactly like the original Splinter action figure from the 80s. So that means something to me personally. The other big controversy is he's being played by Jackie Chan. Now, back when I was a kid, Jackie Chan was the most beloved Chinese man in America, especially in the 1990s, but unfortunately lately his reputation and his beloved stature have been crumbling due to his complicity in helping the Chinese Communist Party. Plus his increasing age and the fact that, unlike his predecessor Bruce Lee, the #1 martial artist and film star of the world, who pursued both the promotion of martial arts through film and the furthering of martial arts as a skill, Chan has only really pursued his Hollywood career and not really significantly advanced his martial arts skills since he was in his 30s. So that being said, I don't know, Jackie Chan, I still want to believe in him. Then there's also another group of people who want everyone to be the same race and religion as the characters they're playing, so they're upset that the world's most famous Chinese man is playing a role that has been typically Japanese, you know, except for realities where Splinter is just a rat that learned to fight from like reading a book or watching TV. So, I don't know, jury's out on this. I'm hoping good things will come from this. I still want to believe in Jackie Chan because he used to be a hero of mine. And he's done a lot of good stuff in the past. I mean, Jackie Chan Adventures is still funny. And I don't think the Splinter design is 100% terrible. I think it just has a terrible haircut. So this Splinter just needs a haircut, and I think I can rest it at that. Finally, the last ultimate huge controversy of this cast is Ayo Edebiri as April. And this is the hottest topic of the cast, I'm afraid. Now, April O'Neil, as we all know, is the TMNT's girlfriend / mother figure / token girl of the group. And since Nickelodeon took over the property, they've played with April as a character most. They've changed her the most. They've definitely done the most weird warpings and reimaginations of her as a character. And the big elephant in the room is, sure, we've had some versions of April in the past that were black, but we've never had one that was all the way fat and ugly like this one is. Like, backing up the history, like, the most recent April on TV was, like, kind of annoying and kind of super violent. That was the one from Rise of TMNT. Not my favorite version, but, you know, at least, like, she was, like, energetic and, like, athletic. And backing it up all the way to the 80s, in the original comics, April was, like, drawn to be, like, racially unclear, resembling, like, the girl from, like, the Thriller video, and, like, if you were black, you could argue that she was black like you wanted her to be. If you were white, you could just argue that she had a perm because it was the 80s. Then the cartoon came out, and as we all know, April was a smoking hot brunette with way too much cleavage, and immediately the comic switched to using that design because the TMNT cartoon slowly whittled away the content of the comics because kids who liked the cartoon would read the comic and immediately drop the comic because it had none of the same shit they liked from the cartoon. But yeah, so we've never had an April who was straight up like fat and ugly before. And that's the controversy here because they gave us a fat, ugly April O'Neil, and also she's black. Now, this is like just driving everyone insane. I've even seen black girls on Twitter saying, and I have to quote this, when April is white, she's Megan Fox, the hottest woman all time. But when April is black, she's suddenly got diabetes. And I gotta say, the memes are pretty on point for this one. Now, please don't direct any hate to Ayo Edebiri. She's not actually fat. She's actually kind of cute. And I'm hoping she does well in the character. But yeah, like this is definitely the most controversial point of the casting and the trailer because she's just unrecognizable as this character. Like, I've even had friends of mine who watched the trailer twice and it just didn't click with them that this overweight middle-aged woman is supposed to be April. Now, it's so controversial that I don't want to get flamed, so I'm just not going to have an opinion on this. I'm just backing away from this as fast as I can. But yeah, right now, this is the thing that people are the most furious about. So maybe they'll adjust the design because this is Paramount, the same studio that adjusted Sonic after it received huge internet backlash. Who the hell knows? It could happen. But anyway, so that's just my reacting to the controversy of the casting. And I've already talked for 20 minutes. So I'm going to split this video in half, and I'm going to do a second video where I actually watch the trailer. So stay tuned. Later, guys. I got to go drink some soup or something. Bye.